Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Campaigning for the third phase of India's general elections picks up. BJP's Amit Shah, Congress's Priyanka Gandhi Vadra on election trail in Gujarat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold rallies in Maharashtra and Goa later today. Israel sends a ceasefire proposal to Hamas. Hamas says it would study the proposal before submitting its response. Aid from Cyprus to Gaza resumes. Thousands rally in Sydney and other Australian cities, urging tougher laws to demand gender violence justice. Prime Minister Albanese to attend one such rally in the national capital Canberra on Sunday. And in sports, India wins 4 golds and 1 silver at the Archery World Cup, creates a new record for the highest number of gold medals in the compound event. So up first, we get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. Campaigning for the third phase of Lok Sabha elections gains momentum. Top leaders of major political parties are making a strong pitch to woo voters. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Maharashtra and Goa today in order to garner support for party candidates. The Prime Minister will also hold rallies in Kolhapur and South Goa. Senior Bharatiya Janata Party leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah was in Bharuch and Porbandar city of Gujarat, where he held rallies. Further, he will be holding a public meeting in Panchmahal and a roadshow in Vadodara. With the election campaign at its peak, political leaders are holding rallies, roadshows across the country to garner support in their party's favour. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge is in Assam and he addressed a public rally in Barpeta region. Earlier in the day, he addressed a press conference in Guwahati. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra addressed a public gathering in Valsad town of Gujarat today. Later in the day, she will also hold a rally in Maharashtra's Latur district. So, the election season is witnessing leaders of various parties crisscrossing different regions of the country in order to garner support for the party candidates, and nearly 61% voter turnout was recorded in the second phase of India's elections. We'll tell you more about how the second phase of elections went just a little later in the program. For now, we are going to connect with our correspondent Prasanjit Bakshi. Prasanjit Bakshi joins us from Kolkata, West Bengal. Prasanjit, was polling peaceful yesterday in the 3 seats of West Bengal?
Yeah, Tanvi, it was absolute peaceful and unlikely of West Bengal. As you know that West Bengal is infamous for this poll-related violence. But this time, Election Commission did its preparation perfectly, and the way central armed paramilitary forces are being used in the first phase also, in the second phase also, it went on peacefully. The first 6 constituencies, they have witnessed the polling. In the first phase, the 3 constituencies, and the second phase, another 3 constituencies. So, for us, it was really a milestone, because without any bloodshed, except some stray incidents, it went on peacefully, Tanvi.
Okay, West Bengal along with Uttar Pradesh and Bihar will be the only states where the 2024 Indian general election will be held in all 7 phases. So which key political battles one should look out for in the days ahead?
In West Bengal, the key thing is that the opposition alliance, which was initiated as claimed by her, which was initiated by Trinamool Congress leader Mamata Banerjee, but in West Bengal itself, she is fighting alone in all 42 seats. And on the other hand, the other partners of this opposition alliance, that is the left and Congress, they are fighting together. So there is a tri-corner fight in this particular polling. On one hand, it is obviously BJP. On the other hand, it is Trinamool Congress. And the third contender is the alliance of left and Congress. Now, let me tell you one more thing, that in the next phase, in the third phase, West Bengal will witness those constituencies where the population of the minority community is in majority. It is Malda, South, North, Jangipur and Murshidabad. In all 4 constituencies, minorities are in majority. So that will also be a very interesting show in the third phase, that is on 7th May, that how this minority, this time vote for which favor, because on one side the Trinamool Congress is claiming that this minority is for their favor, and the left and Congress are claiming on their favor. But at the same time, BJP is saying that the Bengali Muslims, they are changing their mind towards BJP, of course.
All right, a lot to prove for the leaders here. We leave it here. Thank you very much, Prasenjit from Kolkata. So the third phase of India's general elections will witness 95 constituencies across the country going to the polls. This figure includes the Betul constituency in Madhya Pradesh, where voting process initially planned for April the 26th was adjourned due to the death of a BSP candidate. The third phase of the elections will witness 12 states and union territories participating in the democratic process. A total of 1,351 candidates are contesting in the third phase of India's elections. This figure excludes the sole BJP candidate in Surat, who was elected unopposed. Several people from the Sikh community joined the Bharatiya Janata Party on Saturday in the national capital, New Delhi. They joined the party in the presence of National General Secretary Tarun Chugh, party leader Manjinder Singh Sirsa and Virender Sachdeva. So brisk voting was recorded in 88 constituencies across 13 states in the second phase of India's elections. Among the 13 states and union territories, the northeastern state of Tripura recorded the highest voter turnout of 79.6% on Friday. Manipur, again a northeastern state, recorded the second highest turnout at 78.7%.
The second phase of national election in the largest democracy of the world, India, concluded on Friday, April 26th. As elections took place in 88 parliamentary constituencies across 13 Indian states and union territories, voters queued up in long lines outside the polling stations, ignoring the rising mercury to cast their ballots. Amidst the hot and humid conditions in some parts of the country with the onset of the summers, the voter turnout was recorded at 60.96% throughout the states. 2 northeastern states, Tripura and Manipur, recorded the highest voting percentage. The Election Commission made elaborate arrangements for free, fair and comfortable polling. On account of heat wave, polling officials had set up tents outside booths to provide relief from the scorching heat and also arranged drinking water for them. Senior citizens were among the first to cast their votes. Many of them emphasized on the importance of exercising one's democratic right and encouraged others to step out of their homes and make their voice heard. To celebrate women empowerment, the Election Commission of India had set up special pink-coloured booths in Bengaluru, the capital of Karnataka state. Managed by all-women staff, these booths also assisted senior citizens and first-time voters, making the process a comfortable experience.
These are the special booths set up by the Election Commission for the easy facilitation for voters to come and vote. This booth is not just meant for women voters, but these booths are managed by women, and it's an all-women manned booth.
Young first-time voters enthusiastically awaited their turn to be part of this festival of democracy.
With the conclusion of the second phase of the world's largest ever elections, India has come one step closer to electing a new government that will be expected to work on the aspiration, hopes and expectations of 1.4 billion Indians. And the result of these Indian elections are not just going to impact the region, but the future of the world as well.
Eminent personalities, including politicians, sportspersons and actors, were also exercising their franchise at their respective constituencies. In Phase 2, voting was conducted in 20 seats of Kerala, 14 of the 28 seats in Karnataka, 13 seats in Rajasthan, 8 seats each in Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, 7 in Madhya Pradesh, 5 each in Assam and Bihar, 3 seats each in Chhattisgarh and West Bengal, and 1 seat each in Manipur, Tripura and Jammu and Kashmir. The third phase of the marathon 7-phase election will be held on May 7th and the last phase on June 1st. Counting will take place on June 4th.
So as India shares its journey of empowering people through digital public infrastructure, it hopes to inspire other nations, learn from everybody and define its own digital priorities. Addressing the inaugural conference at the United Nations on the Citizen Stack, Digital Public Infrastructure, Transformative Technology for Citizens, Union Minister for Electronics and IT, Ashwini Vaishnav has shared India's journey in harnessing the power of digital public infrastructure to foster inclusive growth and prosperity for all.
India has made it a policy objective to ensure that the benefits of digital revolution reach every corner of our diverse society. The vision has led to the development of India Stack, a bouquet of digital tools accessible to everyone. Building this public infrastructure was a true team effort. The government, private sector, non-profit organizations and volunteers all played a crucial role. The India Stack is like a set of building blocks for our digital world.
The 7th session of the Working Group on Priority Investment Projects was held in Moscow on Friday under the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperations Mechanism. Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, held a meeting with Russian officials of the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Russian Federation. Both the sides discussed issues of bilateral economic cooperation, several ongoing and prospective projects of investment. You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on this edition. Red alert for severe heat wave conditions in India's Odisha and Gangetic West Bengal for the next few days. Bangladesh also swelters. Taiwan faces increased military pressure from China a day after US Secretary of State Antony Blinken ended a visit to China. And Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan says that he would rather be in prison than striking a deal with those who enslaved the country.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. India's meteorological department has predicted heat wave over east and south peninsular areas of the country till April the 30th. Heat wave to severe heat wave conditions are very likely to prevail in many places over Gangetic West Bengal, in some parts over Odisha, and in isolated pockets over sub-Himalayan West Bengal. The Weather Department has also issued a heatwave alert for Maharashtra's Thane district, Raigad district and parts of Mumbai till April 29th. Delhi is expected to receive light rain with thunder showers on Saturday accompanied by gusty winds. Now, Bangladesh is also experiencing intense heat wave. Amid the intense heat wave, education in Bangladesh is under impact by the prolonged dry and hot weather conditions. The government has announced the reopening of primary schools starting Sunday. The Bangladesh Meteorological Department predicted that the ongoing heat wave is likely to continue. Hospitals across Bangladesh are struggling to accommodate an influx of heat stroke affected patients. At least 12 people have died of suspected heat stroke in the last couple of days in different parts of Bangladesh. And Prasar Bharati correspondent Naval Singh Parmar now joins us live from Dhaka. Bangladesh is witnessing a relentless heat wave leading to school closures nationwide. What more can you tell us, Naval?
Bangladesh is going through heat wave conditions since last couple of days. And latest data analysis says that it is prolonged heat wave in the last 76 years in Bangladesh. So in last 76 years, this kind of prolonged heat wave condition were not seen in Bangladesh. And in some part of Bangladesh, like Rajshahi, Pabna and Chodanga district, where the severe heat wave condition is turned into very severe heat wave condition. And on Friday, Chodanga district in Bangladesh, West Bangladesh, this is very close to Indian border, experienced 42.7 degrees Celsius temperature, which is highest in Bangladesh as far as this season is concerned. And as you mentioned, that around 12 people lost their life due to the heat wave condition in last couple of days. And as the Bangladesh government has directed and issued guidelines to reopen the primary school, expecting that in coming days the temperature will be reduced 1 or 2 degrees Celsius from Sunday. And they have given guidelines that the school timing and the duration and accommodated class hours should be there. So the least exposure to the children for the heat wave condition can hamper their daily life. That is the case.
And has there any announcement been made by the Bangladesh's Weather Department as to when can citizens expect respite from this prolonged heat wave?
Yes, day before yesterday, they announced their third released their third guidelines. Before on 19th and 22nd also they released such kind of guidelines, and for that they said that for next 72 hours, means up to Sunday morning, this heat wave condition will be there. But today, the Met Department issued another guidelines or issued a release, and that release says that the severe heat wave turned to very severe heat wave in some part of Bangladesh. It means that in another couple of days, next two or 3 days also, this condition may not be improved or temperature may not be come down. That is the prediction from the Bangladesh Met Department.
Naval Singh Parmar in Dhaka, thank you for those updates. On to the Gaza crisis now. Hamas on Saturday said that it had received Israel's official response to its position over ceasefire talks, and it said that it will study the proposal before submitting its response. Hamas's deputy Gaza chief Khalil al-Hayya in a statement informed about the development. After more than 6 months of the conflict in Gaza, the negotiations still remain deadlocked, with Hamas sticking to its demands that any agreement must end the conflict. An Egyptian delegation, meanwhile, visited Israel for discussion with Israeli officials on Friday, looking for a way to restart talks to end the conflict and return the remaining hostages taken when Hamas fighters stormed into Israeli towns on October the 7th. The United States and 17 other countries appealed to Hamas on Thursday to release all of its hostages as a pathway to end the crisis. Egypt, Qatar and the United States have been unsuccessfully trying to seal a new truce deal in Gaza ever since a one-week halt to the fighting in November saw 80 Israeli hostages being exchanged for 240 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. Meanwhile, aid was airdropped in Gaza on Saturday, followed by an explosion occurred along the Israel-Gaza border. Smoke rose around the border, prompting movement of military vehicles. After a pause following Israel's killing of 7 aid workers, aid from Cyprus resumed on Friday night. A ship carrying food left the port of Larnaca with aid donated by the United Arab Emirates. The Israel-Hamas conflict is in its 7th month now. Israel's military on Friday released a video of what it said was its air force striking a terrorist who advanced attacks against Israel in Lebanon's West Baqa district. In a statement, the IDF said an aircraft struck and eliminated Musab Khalaf in the area of Maidoun in Lebanon, a senior terrorist in the Jama Islamiyah terrorist organization who advanced a large number of terror attacks against Israel. It further said the Jama Islamiyah terrorist organization recently planned and promoted a large number of terror attacks from Lebanese territory against Israel in the area of Har Dov as well as additional areas in northern Israel. Israel's hardline National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir was slightly hurt in a car accident and taken to hospital on Friday. Police Commissioner Kobi Shabtai said 2 other people were injured in the incident and they were investigating the circumstances. Ben-Gvir was leaving the scene in the city of Ramleh near Tel Aviv's, where police said a suspected stabbing attack had occurred shortly before. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Iran should question the effectiveness of its weapon systems after its failed attack on Israel earlier this month. He added that Israel has a significant ability to defend itself.
First of all, their systems don't work as advertised. That they employed a lot of munitions with the intent on creating significant damage in Israel. They should be questioning the effectiveness of their weapon systems and their planning. So hopefully they don't walk away from this overconfident that they can do this at will, because I think Israel has demonstrated that it has a significant ability to defend itself.
In the latest update on the October 7th Israel attack, a UN spokesperson has informed that the Office of Internal Oversight Services has been investigating the 19 UN RWA staff who were terminated so far. UNRWA is considering what administrative action to take while they are under investigation. One case was closed as no evidence was provided by Israel to support the allegations against the staff member. Staying in the region, the US military has said that Iran-backed Houthis launched 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles into the Red Sea from Yemen, causing minor damage to 1 ship, the UK-owned MV Andromeda Star. US Central Command said on the social media site X that a missile landed in the vicinity of a second vessel, MV Maisha, but it wasn't damaged. Yemen's Houthis said on Saturday that their missiles hit the Andromeda Star oil tanker in the Red Sea. Houthi spokesman Yahya Saree said that the Panama flagged ship was British-owned, but shipping data showed that it was recently sold. Its current owner is Seychelles-registered company. The tanker is engaged in Russia-linked trade. It was en route from Primorsk, Russia to Vardar. Houthi terrorists have launched repeated drone and missile strikes in the Red Sea, Bab al-Mandab Strait and Gulf of Aden since November, forcing shippers to reroute cargo to longer and more expensive journeys around southern Africa. The attack on the Andromeda Star comes after a brief pause in the Houthis' campaign that targets ships with ties to Israel, the United States and Britain. Iran's foreign minister said that the crew of a seized Portuguese flagged ship linked to Israel have been granted consular access and are expected to be freed. Iran's Revolutionary Guards seized the container vessel MSC Ares with a crew of 25 in the Strait of Hormuz on April 13th, days after Tehran vowed to retaliate for a suspected Israeli strike on its consulate in Damascus. Iran had said that it could close the crucial shipping route. According to Iranian media, Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian told his Portuguese counterpart Paulo Rangel in a telephone call that the humanitarian issue of the release of the ship's crew is of serious concern for them. Iran's foreign ministry has said that the Ares was seized for violating maritime laws and that there was no doubt that it was linked to Israel. Recent attacks on merchant shipping in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden by Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis, claiming solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza during Israel's war with Hamas, have affected global shipping. Shifting focus to the Asia-Pacific now, a day after US Secretary of State Antony Blinken ended a visit to China, Taiwan reported renewed Chinese military activity near the island on Saturday, with 12 aircraft crossing the sensitive median line of the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan's defense ministry said that from 9:30 in the morning on Saturday, it had detected 22 Chinese military aircraft, including Su-30 fighters, of which 12 had crossed the median line to Taiwan's north and center. Taiwan's defense ministry said that the aircraft were involved in joint combat readiness patrols with Chinese warships, adding that Taiwanese aircraft and ships responded appropriately. No further details were given. China has urged the United States to stop hyping up the false narrative of China's overcapacity and asked it to lift what it called illegal sanctions on Chinese companies. The statement came after the meeting between US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Friday. Chinese President Xi Jinping also reiterated Beijing's concerns that Washington was suppressing its economic development in his meeting with Blinken. Thousands rally in Sydney and other major Australian cities urging tougher laws on gendered violence on Saturday. Protesters are demanding stronger criminal laws gathered in Sydney, capital of New South Wales. Some protesters carried posters that read, "Respect, no more violence." In South Australia's capital, Adelaide, it was estimated that around 3,000 people rallied at the city's Parliament building. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said violence against women is an epidemic in this country and added that he would be part of a rally in Canberra on Sunday. Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan has ruled out an agreement with those who have enslaved the country, saying he is ready to serve for 9 more years in prison but will never strike a deal with them. In a message released on Friday for the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party's 28th Foundation Day, Khan said that the worst dictatorship was imposed on the country, which was becoming the basis for the destruction of the economy, government's rule, democracy and judiciary. He called on every individual to play their role in stopping this descent towards the country's ruin. Khan said he was kept behind bars for the past 9 months due to fake and concocted cases. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Ukraine says Russia has targeted its energy facilities in 3 regions. Heavy rain pounds Kenya, causing widespread devastation, thousands displaced by the widespread flooding. Two new witnesses testify in Donald Trump's hush money case. Trial now resumes on Tuesday.
The connection between the wellness of our planet and our own well-being is more direct than we tend to believe. Let's explore more ways of helping the nature and in turn helping ourselves.
So tigers are water babies. If the forest is degraded, you will not have perennial water bodies. As in, the streams will dry out and therefore you don't have tigers.
These are all valuable to our economy, but they aren't valued in our economy. Nature like this is being left out of the equation.
Litter on the street always infuriated Malarvari Muthu and her daughter-in-law Rajavalli Rajiv. They thought that people might not throw their garbage on the street if they could get money for it instead. And that's how the idea for the garbage bank was born.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Campaigning. Let's take a look at the headlines we are tracking at this hour. Campaigning for the 3rd phase of India's general elections picks up. BJP's Amit Shah, Congress's Priyanka Gandhi on election trail in Gujarat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold rallies in Maharashtra and Goa later today. Israel sends ceasefire proposal to Hamas. Hamas says it would study the proposal before submitting its response. Aid from Cyprus to Gaza resumes. And in sports, India wins 4 goals and 1 silver at the Archery World Cup, creates a new record for the highest number of gold medals in the compound event. Next, on to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukraine has claimed that Russia has attacked Ukrainian energy facilities in 3 regions on Saturday. The attack damaged equipment and injured at least 1 energy worker. On social media, Ukrainian energy minister said that the Russian strikes targeted the Dnipropetrovsk region in central Ukraine and the western regions of Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk. The Ukraine's largest private energy company, DTEK, said that its 4 thermal power stations were hit. Ukraine further claimed that its air defense shot down 21 of 34 Russian missiles fired in an overnight attack. It said Ukrainian fighter planes, air defense missile units, mobile fire groups and means of radio electronic warfare were involved in repelling the Russian missile strikes. Ukraine claimed that a missile attack by Russia near a hospital in Kharkiv region on Saturday has injured 1 person. Though the missile did not hit the hospital's block, it created a large crater in the ground. The impact of the blast crashed windows which caused damage to hospital property. Russia has said that it will look for ways to overcome what it regards as any illegal sanctions the European Union imposes on its liquefied natural gas operations. The European Commission's next sanctions package is expected to propose restrictions on Russian liquefied natural gas for the first time, including a ban on transshipments in the EU and measures on 3 Russian LNG projects. Kremlin spokesperson stated that efforts aimed at pushing Russia out of energy markets and transitioning to pricier alternatives are ongoing. And DD India's Dasha Chernishova joins us live from Moscow for more. Dasha, looking at the bigger picture at this stage, would you describe that the Russia-Ukraine conflict is a war of attrition?
Well, certainly what we are seeing at the moment is Moscow saying that it will achieve the goals of what it calls its special military operation in Ukraine one way or another. To this moment, the only way we are seeing is the military one, with the Kremlin on Saturday saying that there are no prerequisites for the negotiated solution to the conflict in Ukraine at this stage, reminding that it was Kyiv that walked out of the negotiations table back in 2022 when the agreement was drafted in Istanbul, and saying that it happened under the pressure from London. So once again, Moscow is saying the Western countries are fighting against Russia in this conflict, and they are interested in exhausting Russia and trying to inflict a so-called strategic defeat on Moscow. In the meantime, what Moscow says, it will keep methodically destroying the military-industrial complex of Ukraine in order to demilitarize the country, to make sure that it provides no threat to the Russian Federation. And also Moscow insists that against the backdrop of the failures, as it calls the Ukrainian attempts on the battlefield, Ukraine is attempting to target the Russian regions with the drones. Most recently, we've heard from the governor of the Belgrade region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, the reports that at least 5 people have been injured as a result of the Ukrainian attacks against the region.
Dasha also explained to us the Kremlin's position on EU's proposed restrictions on Russian liquefied natural gas.
Well, first of all, the Kremlin said that it needs to wait for the concrete proposals to be on the table, to see the wording, to see the exact initiatives. But the general position of Moscow is that any sanctions that are proposed and introduced by the Western countries, they are first of all illegal. Moscow says it will look for the ways to overcome the new illegal restrictions once they are introduced. And secondly, Moscow insists that this is the double-edged sword, which is also inflicting a lot of damage and losses on the countries that impose those sanctions. When it comes to the European Union, Moscow insists that the only beneficiary of the sanctions against the Russian energy resources is the United States, while the European industries will only be suffering. That's why Moscow says that attempts to squeeze Russia out of the energy market are ongoing, and insists that the US is only benefiting, while Moscow will be looking for the ways to overcome it. In the meantime, keep in mind that the Russian economy is growing. The Russian president on Saturday held an economic meeting in which he said that the country's GDP this year is expected to grow by more than 3%.
Thank you, Dasha, for those updates. Dasha Chernishova reporting to us from Moscow. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has announced new weapons purchases for Ukraine worth $6 billion on Friday. The announcement comes days after President Biden signed a long-awaited aid package containing $61 billion in military support for Ukraine. In a media briefing, Austin said the U.S. will provide Ukraine additional Patriot missiles for its air defense systems as part of additional aid package. The new funding, the largest tranche of U.S. aid sent to date, also includes High Mobility Artillery Rocket System or HIMARS, as well as Switchblade and Puma drones, counter-drone systems and artillery.
I'm also pleased to announce today an additional commitment of $6 billion through our Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. That will allow us to procure new capabilities for Ukraine from U.S. industry. This is the largest security assistance package that we've committed to date.
Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called on other allies to follow Germany's example and to increase their aid to Ukraine during a visit to Germany on Friday.
Germany is the biggest European contributor of military aid to Ukraine. You just decided to send a third Patriot system to Ukraine, and I strongly believe that other allies should follow the example of Germany.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken raised concerns on Friday about China's support for Russia's military, one of the many issues threatening to sour the recent improvement in relations between the world's biggest economies. Blinken raised the matter during 5.5 hours of talks with China's top diplomat Wang Yi in Beijing, the latest high-level contact between the countries that have eased last year's acrimony. The visit produced little progress on contentious issues, including US complaints about cheap Chinese exports and tensions over the Taiwan and South China Sea issue.
I reiterated our serious concern about the PRC providing components that are powering Russia's brutal war of aggression against Ukraine. China is the top supplier of machine tools, microelectronics, nitrocellulose, which is critical to making munitions and rocket propellants, and other dual-use items that Moscow is using to ramp up its defense industrial base. A defense industrial base that is churning out rockets, drones, tanks, and other weapons that President Putin is using to invade a sovereign country, to demolish its power grid and other civilian infrastructure, to kill innocent children, women, and men.
Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marles, during his visit to Poland, said on Friday that his country is committed to supporting Ukraine and has also become much more illuminated about what is occurring in Europe.
We are very committed to supporting Ukraine in its conflict with Russia, but we have also become much more illuminated about what is occurring in Europe, and in that sense the relationship with Poland is put into sharp relief, and we see that there is enormous opportunity for our two countries to work together.
On to Africa now. Flooding and heavy rains in Kenya have killed at least 70 people since mid-March. Kenya and other countries in East Africa, a region highly vulnerable to climate change, have been lashed by severe downpours in recent weeks. More than 1 lakh people have been displaced by floods. At least 64 public schools in the capital were flooded and had to be shut down. Roads and bridges have been damaged. Kenyans have been warned to stay on alert, with more heavy rains forecast across the country in the coming days as monsoon batters East Africa. Other East African countries have reported flooding, with 155 people reported to have died in neighbouring Tanzania and more than 200,000 people affected in Burundi. And India's Isaac Lukando joins us live from Tanzania for more. Isaac, what is the scale of devastation? How many people are currently affected by the flooding in Kenya?
Well, just to give you a little bit of context here, I'm standing out here in Dar es Salaam. It's sunny today, but it hasn't been the case for the last 5 days. In fact, it's been pouring quite heavily. The road you see behind me here was not passable yesterday, and this has been the situation for most parts of East Africa. The situation in Kenya, for example, is quite dire. The largest slum in Nairobi, Mathare, housing over 500,000 people, is in desperate need of aid. The river Mathare burst its banks and affected a lot of the people that live there, mostly low-income earners, who are now desperate to get their lives back on track. Here in Tanzania, we've heard from the government that 200,000 individuals have been affected. 10,000 homes have been destroyed because of the rains. In Burundi, 200,000 people, 300,000 people in need of humanitarian aid. So the situation is really, really bad.
And what role do international aid agencies, including those of the UN, have to play in the current situation in East Africa?
Well, we presume that it's very critical from what we're hearing from the government. The government of Tanzania, for example, had prepared for this situation, considering the fact that it's El Nino that's contributing, the El Nino weather phenomenon that is contributing to the increased rainfall above normal rainfall that Tanzania is experiencing. So it had prepared a bit, but there's only so much that it can do, according to the government. And so it relies quite heavily on development partners such as the United Nations. And here in Tanzania, for example, the government has said that there has been some contribution from the United Nations. But we see in countries like Burundi, where the government is still calling out to the United Nations to help around 300,000 people that are in urgent need of humanitarian assistance there, because of all the damage that has been caused by the rainfall. A lot of bridges have been washed away, roads that have been affected, and a lot of people that don't have homes, don't have medicines, don't have food. And so all of this requires urgent funding. But quite critically, what we're hearing from these places, including places like Kenya, is that those that have been affected, the aid is not getting to them as fast as possible. So herein lies the critical question of how can these people be helped.
Isaac Lucando joining us from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you. Staying in Africa, South Africa remembers its first democratic election in 1994, which marked the official end of racial segregation and apartheid as it celebrates its 30th Freedom Day today. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed the celebrations at the Union Building in Pretoria and said that they have gathered as a united people of all races at the same Union Building that once symbolized our pain, their pain and oppression.
The weight of centuries of oppression was no longer holding us down. Even though our backs bore scars of the cruel lashes of those who had whipped and subjected us for more than 300 years, on that day, as a united people, we stood tall as South Africans. Today, 30 years later, we gather as a united people of all races at the same Union buildings that once symbolized our pain and our oppression.
From Africa to America now. The second week of former US President Donald Trump's hush money trial concluded on Friday afternoon. The former president is charged with falsifying business records in connection with a hush money payment made to an adult film star before the 2016 presidential election. 3 of the prosecution's witnesses testified on Friday. Ex-tabloid publisher David Pecker, Trump's former longtime assistant Ronna Graff, and Michael Cohen's former banker Gary Farrow. We have a report.
David Packer testified that he suppressed a story about an alleged affair to help Trump's 2016 presidential bid, even though it would have boosted sales of his tabloid. Packer was the first witness in the case who accused Trump 77 of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to adult star Stormy Daniels. Packer's testimony was followed by witness Ronna Graff, a longtime Trump assistant and a banker who dealt with Michael Cohen. Graff testified that she once saw Daniels at Trump Tower before he ran for president. She said she heard Trump say he was interested in casting her on The Apprentice, the reality TV show he hosted. She said the email addresses of Daniels and McDougal were stored in the computer systems of Trump's company. The trial is set to resume Tuesday morning. Jurors will now have a 3-day weekend to think about what they heard during the first full week of testimony in the historic Donald Trump hush money trial.
Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Our special report on the Kohima War Cemetery dedicated to the descendants of Allied soldiers who fought in the historic Battle of Kohima in 1944.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to some business news now. The Asian Development Bank committed $23.6 billion from its own resources in 2023, including $9.8 billion for climate action to help Asia and the Pacific progress on sustainable development. These figures are among the financial and operational results published in ADB's annual report 2023. The report summarizes how ADB supported its developing member countries to address the worsening climate crisis, as well as the impact of conflicts, food insecurity, increased debt burdens, among others, as challenges. The $23.6 billion comprise loans, grants, equity, investments, guarantees, and technical assistance provided to governments and the private sector. And next we take a look at what else is happening across the world. King Charles' announcement of his return to public duties following his cancer diagnosis earlier this year dominated the front pages of numerous British tabloids and some broadsheet newspapers on Saturday. Buckingham Palace disclosed in February that the 75-year-old monarch had been diagnosed with cancer. In the United States, violent tornadoes slammed Nebraska on Friday evening, causing severe damage in Omaha City. Hundreds of homes and other structures were damaged as the tornado tore for miles along the farmland and into subdivisions. The Macau Grand Prix Museum has opened an exhibition on Lego speed racing in Hong Kong on Friday. The presentation of Formula 3 racing car, a full-scale model based on original cars made entirely of Lego pieces, was the main attraction of the event. Back to India now. Forest fire in the northern state of Uttarakhand became more severe, with the flames reaching the High Court colony in Nainital. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami took stock of the situation by conducting an aerial survey. Chief Minister Dhami also held a meeting regarding the same. The Indian Air Force is using Mi-17 helicopters to extinguish the fire by transporting water from the Bhimta lake to douse the flames. The Forest Department called in the IAF, that is the Indian Air Force, and the Indian Army to help control the fire, which had been burning for more than 36 hours and had destroyed hectares of forest. And next, watch this special report on the Kohima War Cemetery, a solemn tribute to the brave souls who perished in the fierce battle between British and Indian forces against the Japanese invasion in India's northeastern state of Nagaland. Our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
Welcome to Kohima, a place of profound history and remembrance. Today, we give you a tour of Kohima War Cemetery, which is a memorial dedicated to soldiers who died in the Second World War at Kohima. Amidst the tranquil beauty of Kohima lies a solemn tribute to the brave souls who made the ultimate sacrifice during the Second World War. Established in April 1944, this war cemetery stands as a testament to the valor and the sacrifice of the 2nd British Division of the Allied Forces. Popularly remembered as the Stalingrad of the East, the Battle of Kohima was fought from April 4th to June 22nd in 1944. With 1,421 graves, each one a reminder of the life lost in the fight for freedom. Perched atop the Garrison Hill, the cemetery offers a breathtaking panorama of Kohima, a serene resting place for the heroes. 917 Hindus and 6 soldiers were also cremated according to their faith, their bravery forever etched in the history. A visit to the sacred ground is a journey through time, leaving visitors captivated by the courageous tales of those who lie here. In Kohima, amidst the picturesque surroundings, the spirits of heroes live on, their sacrifice a beacon of hope for generations to come. With Campus and Navind, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Kohima, Nagaland.
And next we take a look at other stories making news in India. India's investigating agency, the National Investigation Agency, filed a charge sheet before the court for NIA cases at Punnamalai in Chennai against one more accused in the 2022 ISIS-inspired Coimbatore car bomb blast case. So far, 14 people have been arrested in connection with the car bomb blast incident. Lahore and Spiti in India's Himachal Pradesh blanketed in snow after receiving fresh snowfall. The recent snowfall has added another layer of magic to this enchanting destination, reaffirming its status as a must-visit destination for nature lovers and adventure seekers. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sporting action. The Indian athletes claimed 4 gold medals at the Archery World Cup in Shanghai on Saturday. The women's team led the charge as the trio of Jyoti Sureka Vennam, Aditi Swami and Parneet Kaur got the better of Italy's Marcella Tonioli, Irene Francini and Elisa Rona by 236 to 225. The Indian women's team just dropped 4 points and managed to beat the 6th-seeded Italy without breaking a sweat. Abhishek Verma, Priyansh and Prathamesh Fuge produced a similar display of dominance against the Netherlands and came out victorious by 238 to 231. The Indian men's team dropped just 2 points. India added a third goal to their kitty as the pair of Jyoti Sureka Vennam and Abhishek Verma won the compound mixed team gold final by defeating Estonia. Jyoti Sureka secured the 4th gold for India when she defeated Mexican archer to win the individual compound final, while Priyansh won the silver medal after he lost to Wiener of Austria in the individual compound final. So with that, it's a wrap in this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can catch all the latest news and updates on our different social media handles and of course on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on your screen to download now. So we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.
The connection between